The venture of Islam, a global conscience.
Act 1. The Desert Revelation. In a desolate desert basin, a small sanctuary stood as the center of pagan life. Mecca flourished as a node in the lucrative trade between the southern seas and Byzantium. Among the tribes, a new spiritual consciousness began to stir within the desert solitude.
At 40, a respected merchant sought purity in the cave of Mount Hira. A violent encounter with the divine forced a new reality upon his heart.
The first recitations were not a product of mind, but a divine command. At first, a small group gathered in secret, pledging themselves to a new vision. The message attacked the greed of the elite, calling for justice for the unprotected. To escape persecution, some followers fled across the sea to the Christian kingdom of Abyssinia. The Quraysh imposed a boycott, attempting to starve the movement into submission. Converts from the northern oasis of Yathrib offered a new base of support. Pursued by assassins, the Prophet and his companion hid in a cave at Thawr. The Hijra marked the birth of a new community, the Ummah, in Medina. The first mosque was built, serving as the soul of the new city. A radical polity emerged, uniting diverse clans under a single moral arbiter.
At Badr, the smaller force faced annihilation, but won a decisive victory.
At Uhud, the community tasted defeat, testing their faith and resolve. To defend the oasis, a massive trench was dug, neutralizing the Meccan cavalry. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah was signed, a clear victory through diplomacy.
Muhammad returned to his birthplace with 10,000 men, entering without a fight.
The idols were removed, and the Kaaba was rededicated to the one God.
During the farewell pilgrimage, the Prophet ﷺ declared the perfection of the religion.
In the arms of his beloved wife, the messenger of God breathed his last. The caliphate was established, ensuring the leadership and unity of the Ummah.
The center of power shifted to Syria, where the Umayyad state took its form.
Across North Africa, the old Roman frontiers gave way to a new, sprawling dominion.
In the west, the venture crossed into Europe, reaching the mountains of the Iberian Peninsula. The administration was transformed, making Arabic the official language of the global imperial state.
The images of emperors were replaced by a coinage bearing only the word of God.
On the Rock of Jerusalem, a monument rose to proclaim the finality of the message. The architecture reflected a vision of paradise, woven from the heritage of older worlds. In the Syrian steppe, the Umayyad elite sought refuge in vast, lonely desert palaces.
In the garrison towns, a pious opposition grew, challenging the worldliness of the state.
The ulamas began to collect the reports, seeking to define the correct prophetic way. For many, the memory of Ali's family became a tragic drama of lost justice.
Radical egalitarian groups rose in the hills, rejecting any leadership that lacked moral purity. Non-Arab converts demanded equality, resentful of the privileges held by the Arab elite.
In the East, a secret movement began to coordinate the various strands of discontent. The black banners of the Abbasids were raised, promising a return to justice.
On the banks of the Zab, the old caliphate was broken in a final, bloody encounter.
The house of Marwan fell, and the center of the world began to shift.
The first Abbasid caliph was proclaimed, claiming the heritage of the Prophet's family. A new era of absolutism began, promising to unite the diverse peoples of Islam.
The revolution was over, but the work of building a global civilization had only just begun.
Act 2. The House of Wisdom. The Abbasids shifted the empire's heart to the fertile, ancient plains of Iraq.
Madinat al-Salam rose, a circular symbol of a new, absolute world order. Baghdad sat at a global crossroads, commanding the wealth of both land and sea.
A professional bureaucracy of clerks managed the complex finances of an agrarian empire. Beside the caliph stood the executioner, the ultimate symbol of absolute personal power.
Under Harun al-Rashid, the court became the world's most brilliant center of adab.
The Persian Barmakid viziers infused the court with the elegant heritage of old Sasanian traditions.
But absolute rule brooked no rivals. The Barmakids were destroyed in a sudden disgrace. The House of Wisdom gathered the treasures of ancient Greek and Sanskrit thought. A great translation movement transformed Arabic into a language of global science. Falsafa sought the rational harmonies of nature, looking to the unchanging laws of the stars. Mathematics flourished, perfecting algebra as a tool for a more intelligible universe.
The introduction of paper made knowledge cheap, accessible, and universally extendable.
The Mihna attempted to enforce a rationalist orthodoxy, but only sparked deeper resistance. The Hadith folk collected reports of the Prophet Muhammad, seeking to conserve the original Islamic vision.
Samarra was built on a monumental scale, a city to house the caliph's personal army. The caliphs relied on professional Turkic guards, who eventually became the true masters of the state.
Palace life became an isolated world of luxury, far from the life of the common Muslims.
Social unrest erupted in the south, where oppressed slaves rose in a long, bloody rebellion.
The vital irrigation systems began to decay, eroding the empire's economic foundation.
Despite political decay, a common Islamic culture deepened among the urban masses.
The Burids occupied Baghdad, reducing the caliph to a mere figurehead of lost power.
The first great age of the caliphate was ending, giving way to a decentralized world.
New powers emerged in the West, preparing to challenge the old centers of authority.
Al-Kindi bridged ancient Greek logic with the revelation,
birthing the tradition of falsafa. In the markets of Baghdad, algebra emerged as a universal language of precision. Astronomers mapped the heavens, seeking the unchanging laws governing God's vast creation. Hospitals became sanctuaries of healing, where clinical observation met the ethics of care.
Alchemy transformed from myth to science, classifying the base elements of the material world.
The study of light revealed the mechanics of vision, challenging the illusions of the eye.
Paper, once a distant secret, became the engine of an Arabic intellectual revolution.
In the West, Cordova blossomed into a beacon of high culture and intellectual tolerance.
Arabo-Christian synthesis in Spain proved that diverse faiths could cultivate a single civilization.
On the Silk Road, Bukhara rose as a new heart for Persianate Islamic glory.
Autonomous dynasties in Egypt began to mirror the splendor of the falling caliphate.
From North Africa, the venture crossed into Sicily, weaving the Mediterranean into Islamdom.
The caliphs became captives of their own guards, as military power usurped civilian rule. Neglected canals and rising salt eroded the agrarian foundations of the Iraqi heartland.
In 945, Persian Buyids seized Baghdad, reducing the caliph to a mere spiritual symbol. Bereft of temporal might, the caliph remained only the titular head of the ummah.
Political unity crumbled, yet a common literary and legal culture bound the world together. The age of absolute caliphs was over, yielding to a new international synthesis.
Act 3. The International Synthesis.
The venture now turns toward the establishment of a global international political order.
Under Buyid rule, the commander of the faithful became a titular prisoner of military masters.
Shi'i piety deepened as the martyrdom of Ali's family became a cosmic drama of justice. In the east, the Ghaznavids rose. Professional Turkic soldiers turned into independent Muslim kings.
Mahmud of Ghazna pushed deep into the Indian subcontinent, opening new lands for Sunni Islam.
The Samanids upheld the gentry's dignity, making Bukhara a brilliant center of Persianate culture.
Fresh Turkic tribes emerged from the steppes, seizing power with the solidarity of blood. Fresh Turkic tribes emerged from the steppes, seizing power with the solidarity of blood.
The Seljuks replaced the Buyids, restoring Sunni authority and the prestige of the caliphate.
Nizam al-Mulk sought to restore imperial stability through a centralized, professional bureaucracy. The madrasa became the new engine of unity, training the administrative and religious elite.
The Iqta system assigned land revenues to soldiers, making military power self-sustaining. At Manzikert, a decisive victory shattered the Byzantine frontier and opened Anatolia to Islam.
Muslim cadres followed the conquest, weaving Anatolia into the fabric of Islamicate society.
Al-Ghazali reconciled law with spiritual experience, forging a lasting synthesis of Muslim piety. Sufi orders began to organize, providing a private, spiritual order to a fragmented world. The Sharia law became the universal code, binding diverse Muslim peoples together. In In the mountains, the Nizari Ismailis defied the Seljuk order with a secret hierarchy.
The first Crusaders seized Jerusalem, a direct challenge to the heart of Islamdom.
In the Mediterranean, the venture faced retreat as Christian powers seized the sea lanes. Saladin emerged, a leader of the counter-crusade, dedicated to restoring Muslim unity. At Hattin, the Crusader power was broken, and Jerusalem returned to Muslim rule.
The Ayyubid state combined military might with the patronage of hospitals and schools.
In the West, the Almohads unified the Maghreb and Spain under a rigorist reform. Persian became the new dominant literary tongue, carrying the elegant culture of the emirs.
The venture now encompassed the hemisphere, from the Atlantic to the Indus Valley. In the far west, Ibn Rushd sought the ultimate accord between reason and revelation.
Seville rose as a capital of faith, mirroring the rigid order of the Almohads. Through Toledo, the intellectual wealth of Islam flowed into the awakening mind of Europe.
In Granada, a fragile beauty endured, the final sanctuary of the Andalusi spirit.
In Egypt, a new caste of professional slave soldiers seized the reins of power.
Trade bound the Indian Ocean together, creating a cosmopolitan world of mercantile piety.
Persian letters flourished, carrying the sophisticated culture of the international emirs.
Along the Silk Road, the venture built an interconnected network of commerce and conscience.
In the east, the Khwarazm Shah stood as a titan, unaware of the coming storm. From the high steppes, a new and terrible force prepared to shatter the world. The Mongol eruption broke like a tidal wave across the lands of the Oxus.
Cities that had flourished for centuries were reduced to ash in a matter of days.
The old social order was decapitated as the Mongols systematically eliminated the urban elite.
In the shadow of conquest, science survived through the pragmatic collaboration of scholars.
Hulagu approached the city of peace, demanding absolute and final submission. The walls of Baghdad, once symbols of invincibility, crumbled under the Mongol engines. The Tigris ran black with ink as the treasures of Baghdad were cast away. The last caliph of Baghdad met his end, wrapped in a rug to spare the earth his blood.
The classic age of the caliphate was dead, yielding to an era of military prestige.
Act 4, the Gunpowder Empires.
Out of the ruins, a new political logic emerged from the steppe traditions.
The Mamluks in Cairo guarded the heartlands, turning back the Mongol tide.
In a tiny frontier march, the House of Osman began its ascent.
Crossing the straits, the Ottomans wove the Balkans into an Islamic fabric.
Gunpowder technology provided the tools for a new, stable imperial order.
Mehmed the Conqueror claimed the heritage of the Caesars and the Caliphs.
The ancient walls of Constantinople
finally yielded to the heavy Ottoman guns.
The city became Istanbul, a circular symbol of absolute world sovereignty.
The Janissaries formed a professional elite, bound solely to the person of the Sultan.
Under Suleiman, the dynastic law and the Sharia were brought into harmony. In Ardabil, a mystical order transformed into a revolutionary Shi'i power. Shah Ismail established the Safavid state, making Shi'ism the soul of Iran.
At Chaldiran, the two gunpowder giants clashed for the soul of the frontier.
Isfahan rose as a half of the world, a masterpiece of Persianate grace. Philosophers in Isfahan explored the realm of images and divine light.
From Kabul, Babur descended upon the Indus, founding the Mughal legacy.
Akbar envisioned a universal peace, blending diverse faiths into a single civilization.
The Mughals built in marble and light, reflecting the perfection of the state. In all three empires, the ulama integrated the holy law with monarchy.
The oceans became a field of conflict as the venture met Europe.
The Ottoman navy secured the sea lanes from the Red Sea to Algiers.
In the east, the Safavids defended Khurasan against the mobile Uzbek tribes.
Art and letters flourished, carrying the sophisticated Persianate culture to its zenith.
The great empires reached their prime, masters of a vast international order. Philosophy in Isfahan explored the realm of images, merging logic with mystical light.
The elite Janissary corps transformed, their focus shifting from the battlefield to urban influence.
At the walls of Vienna, the Ottoman westward expansion met its definitive limit.
The Treaty of Karlowitz marked the first major territorial retreat for the Sublime Porte.
With the death of Aurangzeb, the Mughal sun began its long, painful descent.
Maratha power rose in the south, challenging the centralized grip of the Timurid state. The Tulip Age brought a brief interval of luxury and curiosity toward the West.
Ibrahim Mutafarrika introduced the press, launching a new era of technicalized knowledge. Afghan invaders shattered the Safavid state, leaving the Iranian plateau in chaos.
Nadir Shah emerged from the turmoil, forging a formidable army based on sheer power.
The sack of Delhi stripped the Mughals of their wealth and their imperial prestige. In the heart of Arabia, a rigorist reform movement sought a return to purity.
At Plassey, the mercantile strength of Europe established a foothold in Bengal. Kuchuk Kainarja humiliated the Ottomans, granting Russia the status of a northern protector.
Selim III launched the New Order, attempting to modernize through Western technique. The quest for science began to look westward as the old certainties faltered. The Qajars established Tehran as their capital, ruling over a fragmented Iranian realm.
The age of the great agrarian empires drew to a somber close.
the arrival of Napoleon signaled the abrupt onset of the Great Transmutation.
Act 5. The Great Transmutation.
Western technicalization arrived abruptly, measuring the ancient world with a new, cold precision.
Muhammad Ali sought to forge a modern state through the power of imported technique.
The Tanzimat reforms introduced a new order of impersonal, centralized bureaucratic administration.
The printing press democratized knowledge, fueling a new age of reform and public dialogue.
Jadid reformers in Russia combined Islamic heritage with the tools of modern science.
The canal linked the seas, weaving the Muslim heartlands into a global economic nexus.
The Great War brought the collapse of the Ottoman house, threatening the very existence of the Turks.
Mustafa Kemal landed in Anatolia, igniting a revolution based on national sovereignty.
A new polity emerged, identifying the nation's will as the ultimate source of power.
The caliphate was abolished, ending 13 centuries of formal political continuity.
Symbolic changes enforced the shift toward the West, altering the very appearance of the people.
The alphabet was transformed, abruptly severing the new generation from the old literary heritage.
In Iran, the Pahlavi state utilized technique to centralize authority and modernize the land.
The discovery of oil brought fabulous wealth and interwoven the region with global politics.
The birth of Israel signaled a new era of conflict and communal displacement.
The Egyptian Revolution launched a new Arab nationalism, seeking a socialist, technicalized path.
Cities became the laboratories of modernity, where the old and the technical coexisted.
In the East, Sarekat Islam mobilized the masses, combining folk piety with nationalist goals.
Education became the gather to survival as Muslims adopted Western methods to reform.
Technicalization required a shift in values, making skill part of a new cultural pattern.
Thinkers like Iqbal sought to awaken the individual spirit through a new, creative history.
Modern transport transformed the pilgrimage, bringing millions together through the power of flight. In times of uncertainty, a rigid vision rises, opposing the world it seeks to replace. The venture now stands at a global peak, master of both tradition and technique.
Decolonization drew arbitrary lines, leaving the Arab world torn between unity and local statehood.
The partition of India triggered a massive migration, founding Pakistan as a haven for communalist Islam.
The new state struggled to balance modern administration with its inherited religious vision.
Indonesia emerged as decolonized watershed, blending national sovereignty with a populist religious spirit. Oil wealth transformed the arid zone, weaving local economies into the global financial nexus. Modern education became the gateway to a new, technicalized social order across the Muslim heartlands.
Women emerged in public roles, asserting their place within the framework of modern technicalization.
Sufi orders persisted, providing a spiritual core in a world increasingly defined by technique. Technicalization required a shift in values, making skill part of a new cultural pattern.
Immense cities became laboratories of modernity,
where ancient traditions meet the technical age.
Modern transport brought millions together, confirming the global solidarity of the Islamic Ummah.
A grand dialogue emerged among heritages, seeking respect within a common world society. The religious community became an intermediate group, bridging the individual and the global mass.
The spiritual core remains crucial, providing vision where a strictly technical answer fails.
The venture of Islam remains a worldwide human community, answering a transcendent challenge.
Every generation makes its own decisions, facing the cosmic requirements of their time.
Continuity and creativity continue to weave the fabric of this enduring civilization.
A world culture emerged, where the crescent and the transmutation are one.
The venture continues, an irreplaceable odyssey of conscience and history.
A documentary produced for the search of truth and understanding.